Ash Hollow, 3:12 a.m. I've built my whole brand on tearing ghost stories apart. Hollow Myths, my little blog, started as a college project. Now it's my part-time side hustle, debunking hauntings, exposing faked photos, and rolling my eyes at people who claim their attic is haunted by cold spots. But this time was different. The Harrow House wasn't just some clickbait headline to me. My grandmother grew up in the house next door. She used to sit on her porch and watch the Harrow girl Clara play with a jump rope in the yard. My grandma swore she saw Clara for the last time one rainy night in 1971, standing at her bedroom window, her face pale and still. The next morning, the Harrows were gone. Every clock in the house had stopped at exactly 3:12 a.m. As a kid, the story scared me. As an adult, it annoyed me. People still whispered about lights in the upstairs window and footsteps in the hall, like they hadn't been hearing the same tired tale for 50 years. When my blog traffic tanked last month, I decided to milk the old family story, a live stream from inside the Harrow House. Debunk it in real time, sprinkle in some sarcastic commentary, and maybe get the clicks flowing again. The place sat at the end of Ash Hollow Road, where pavement crumbled to gravel and the trees leaned in close enough to touch. I parked, hit record on my phone, and stepped into the cold. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not musty rot, but the sharp, raw scent of wet soil, metallic and fresh. The second thing was the silence. No wind, no crickets, just my breathing in the mic. The front door wasn't locked. Inside, the air was stifling and humid, like August heat trapped in a jar. My glasses fogged instantly. I wiped them on my shirt, glancing at the wall of portraits in the hallway. The father's eyes were dark pits. The mother's eyes, they didn't just follow me. They hunted me. Her gaze locked on mine with a cold, predatory focus, like she was already calculating where to strike. And the little girl's smile was tight and unnatural, the kind you force when someone tells you to behave. I made my way to the stairs, narrating for the stream. My voice sounded too loud in the stillness. Halfway up, I touched the banister, and something brushed back, light and quick like a fingertip tapping my palm. My hand came away damp, carrying that same earthy smell. Upstairs, my flashlight beam caught warped doors and peeling wallpaper. In the center of the hall, a trail of wet footprints, small, bare, led to the last door on the right. I followed. It was a child's bedroom. The wallpaper here still held faint flowers, browned and curling. A bed slumped in the corner, blanket rotting. The air was thicker here, heavy as if it had weight. The door swung shut behind me. The knob refused to turn. In the far corner, a girl stood barefoot, her dress clinging wet to her knees. Her hair hung over her face, dripping. "Clara?" I said without thinking. She didn't move. I stepped closer. The board squelched under my feet. When I was just a few feet away, she spoke. A whisper, almost lost in the heavy air. "Stay and help us." For one sharp second, I hesitated. My pulse pounded in my ears. Help? Help who? Help how? Was something else here? Something worse that the Harrows had been running from? My mouth opened, ready to ask. And then she was gone. The smell of wet soil swelled until it stung my eyes. The walls seemed to pulse. My reflection in the cracked mirror by the bed wasn't mine. The face staring back was older, thinner, with the mother's calculating gaze from the portrait downstairs. The door was suddenly open. I didn't think. I bolted down the stairs, out the front door, into the cold night air. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I sat there shaking, the camera still rolling in my lap. Slowly, the smell faded. I told myself it was just heat and humidity playing tricks. That's what I told my viewers when I uploaded the footage. Heavily edited, of course. But now, weeks later, I wake every night at exactly 3:12 a.m. Not from nightmares, from the sound of my front door clicking shut. Every clock in my apartment, digital, battery-powered, even my phone, freezes for 1 full minute. The smell of wet soil lingers until morning. Last night, I caught my reflection in the dark window above my kitchen sink. It was her, and when I turned around, a single muddy footprint was drying on my floor.
It's time to study new words in context. 1. Hustle. Definition: to hustle means to move quickly and energetically, or to push oneself or others to act with urgency. It can also mean working hard to achieve something, sometimes through clever or aggressive effort. Example: she had to hustle to finish her report before the deadline. 2. Debunking. Definition: debunking is the act of exposing the falseness, exaggeration, or weakness of a claim, belief, or story. Example: the scientist focused on debunking the myth that vaccines cause illness. 3. Cold spots. Definition: cold spots are areas where the temperature is noticeably lower than the surroundings. The term is often used in discussions of haunted locations or energy fields. But it can also describe any chilly place. Example: tourists claimed they felt cold spots while walking through the abandoned house. 4. Clickbait. Definition: clickbait refers to online content with exaggerated or misleading headlines, designed to attract attention and make people click on the link. Example: the article title was pure clickbait and did not match the actual content. 5. Tanked. Definition: tanked means to fail badly, collapse suddenly, or drop in performance, sales, or quality. Example: the company's profits tanked after the new product received poor reviews. 6. Crumbled. Definition: crumbled means to fall apart into small pieces, or to collapse gradually, whether literally or figuratively. Example: the old stone wall crumbled when touched. 7. Rot. Definition: rot is the process of decay or decomposition, often caused by moisture, bacteria, or fungi. It can also be used metaphorically to describe moral or social decline. Example: the fruit began to rot after sitting in the sun for several days. 8. Stifling. Definition: stifling describes something that feels overwhelming, oppressive, or suffocating, whether in temperature, atmosphere, or situation. Example: the stifling heat in the classroom made it hard to concentrate. 9. Predatory. Definition: predatory describes behavior that exploits, harms, or takes advantage of others, much like a predator hunting its prey. Example: the company was accused of using predatory lending practices. 10. Banister. Definition: a banister is the handrail alongside a staircase, supported by posts or spindles to help people keep balance while climbing up or down. Example: she slid her hand along the banister as she descended the stairs. 11. Warped. Definition: warped means twisted, bent out of shape, or distorted. It can refer to a physical object or to a person's perspective or character. Example: the wooden floorboards had warped after years of water damage. 12. Squelched. Definition: squelched means to crush, stop, or silence something completely, often with a squishy or forceful sound. Example: the government squelched the protest before it could spread. 13. Bolt. Verb. Definition: to bolt verb means to move suddenly and quickly, often in fear, surprise, or panic. It can also mean to run away abruptly without warning. In another context, to bolt can mean to fasten something securely with a metal pin or lock. Example: when the loud thunder cracked across the sky, the horse bolted from the field, galloping toward the woods.
Comprehension questions. 1. What is the name of the protagonist's blog? Answer: Hollow Myths. 2. What is the protagonist's profession or side hustle? Answer: they run a blog that debunks ghost stories and paranormal claims. 3. How is the Harrow House personally connected to the protagonist? Answer: the protagonist's grandmother grew up next door to the Harrows and saw Clara, the Harrow daughter, the night before the family vanished. 4. What unusual event happened in the Harrow house the night the family disappeared? Answer: every clock in the house stopped at exactly 3:12 a.m. 5. What two unusual things does the protagonist first notice upon arriving at the Harrow house? Answer: the sharp scent of wet soil and the complete absence of natural sounds like wind or crickets. 6. How does the protagonist describe the mother's eyes in the portrait? Answer: as having a cold, predatory focus, like she was calculating where to strike. 7. What physical sensation does the protagonist feel when touching the banister? Answer: a light fingertip-like brush against their palm, leaving it damp with the earthy smell. 8. What leads the protagonist to the child's bedroom? Answer: a trail of small, bare, wet footprints. 9. What does the girl in the bedroom whisper to the protagonist? Answer: stay and help us. 10. How does the protagonist react internally to the whisper before fleeing? Answer: they briefly wonder what help might mean, and consider that the ghosts might be victims, not threats. 11. What happens when the protagonist looks into the cracked mirror? Answer: they see a reflection that isn't theirs, an older, thinner face with the mother's predatory gaze. 12. What recurring event happens to the protagonist after visiting the house? Answer: they wake every night at 3:12 a.m. to the sound of their front door clicking shut. 13. How does the haunting affect the protagonist's clocks? Answer: every clock, even digital ones, stops for 1 full minute at 3:12 a.m. 14. What final disturbing image does the protagonist witness in their own home? Answer: they see the mother's reflection in the kitchen window and find a single muddy bare footprint on their floor. 15. What sensory detail ties the haunting to both the house and the protagonist's home? Answer: the smell of wet soil